Happy Monday morning, everybody. Okay, I just have to let you know that due to the storm that hit, we are in a power outage situation. So I'm having to record on that phone that you guys don't like because my voice goes up and down. So I am well aware that that is happening. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot I can do. The pictures you're looking at are different homes in the area. And considering everything that's gone on here, I think my husband and I got off lucky. There was some damage, but nothing like these people. This woman said she was sleeping and suddenly it was raining in her dining room. And this poor woman was asleep in her mobile home when the tree crashed in and literally cut it in half. She was lucky she wasn't killed. So, trees down, people's garages were taken out by, trees falling. This is like, they're calling it a once in a lifetime, a once in a 1,000-year event. And so I wanted some trees on our property. My husband refused, and now I'm glad he did because the trees coming down seem to have caused the most damage to all of our neighbors. I've never gone through a storm like this before. It was quite frightening. Finn, interestingly enough, didn't seem bothered. I, on the other hand, was quite upset. This is the sum total of damage we have to our house that can be fixed with a long ladder in 20 minutes. Our garage did flood just a little bit, but nothing massive. Like I said, compared to the neighbors, we got off really easy, but the winds were like ridiculous. We did lose a few pieces of siding, which again, were easy to put back on. And the front of the house, we lost a screen off the window. That was very odd, and a couple of decorations. So, all right. So we have 6 different stories to cover. And while I don't have power, this is the only way I can do it. So let's just jump in and get busy covering everything because there's a lot. Let's go. To my subscriber, Deborah, I just want to say a quick thank you for sending these lanterns. They have been a godsend while we're without power. Best thing I ever got. Thank you so much. We're going to start off with a story from July. As you can see, Lemonada, the one who signed Meghan Markle, apparently back in July, they hired an investment bank to run a sale for them. This is the same Lemonada because it says that they operate under a mantra to create content that makes, quote, life suck less, one podcast at a time. They were asked for a comment and they refused. This was founded in 2009, and I'm going to keep an eye on this story. I haven't heard anything else since, but I'll let you know. All right, let's move on. A big thank you to Nancy Sidley for this next post, where she said this has to sting because, the Hollywood Reporter, the one that just did the big story on Meghan Markle and her bullying, they won 11 first place prizes at the LA Press Club Journalism Awards, which is the most for any publication. They won best website, top honors for photography, etc., etc. And they're standing by their claims. Well, nobody sued them yet, so I guess we'll see what happens. All right, let's move on. Next up, the Prince Harry and Piers Morgan feud has reignited after Harry got up on stage in New York and started talking about the children online safety at the Clinton Global Initiative 2024 Summit because Harry called for tech companies to be held accountable for children's protection online. And he said, while we embolden both youth and parents, we must hold digital platforms accountable. No one wants to live in a world where there's no consequence or accountability. Well, the second he said that, Piers Morgan came out and took that opportunity to take a swipe at Prince Harry and said, sounds like what I said, quote, does he have any advice for how the royal family can be protected from the harmful effects of people abusing them in books, Netflix, documentaries, podcasts, and TV interviews with Oprah? Oh my God. All right, moving on. All right, here's the next thing that happened. Harry apparently went on the Jimmy Fallon show and released this really weird skit where he's giggling and laughing and swearing because the two of them went through a haunted maze. Now, very interesting, he didn't do an interview. He wasn't interviewed. Instead, he was a quote-unquote surprise guest to test a Halloween experience called Jimmy Fallon's Tonightmares at the Rockefeller Center in the Big Apple. So the two of them were lurking around with Fallon, and he was heard screaming all kinds of words that I will not repeat on this podcast, and cracking jokes about Michael Bublé, who we know is a friend of his. So my first thought is, he's not being interviewed because he has nothing to promote. He's got nothing to say. To me, he's like become a joke. It was such a setup because Harry walked into the scene where, Jimmy Fallon was doing a presentation and supposedly scared Jimmy Fallon. Yeah. All right. He says, I'm not that easily scared. And then they put some cameras on their chests. They stepped into an elevator, which then went down. And when they got off the elevator, they were then in the Haunted Mage, where supposedly they were just so scared. So Harry, who's in New York and wants to be taken seriously as some sort of a global, influencer, looks at a woman with white makeup and black rings around her eyes and goes, "Oh, is that a panda?" And the woman goes, "Hello." And then something about he was looking at a reflection of her and he screamed, and Jimmy Fallon went, "Oh, so you're afraid of pandas?" And Harry goes, I'm not. It's like, are you kidding? I can't tell if Harry was putting on or not, because you would think that somebody who did 2 tours of Afghanistan wouldn't be that scared to walk through this maze. Supposedly, people in the maze were like, "Is that Prince Harry?" And then when they realized it was Harry, they were all shocked because they, quote unquote, terrified Prince Harry. I don't think they terrified Harry at all. As a matter of fact, at one point during this, and I'm calling it a skit because that's what it was, in one point, Harry compared one of the haunted figures to his good friend Michael Bublé, going, "Good job, buddy." This was literally some of the worst acting I've ever seen. And in my opinion, this is not the way to put it, the exclamation point on the end of the week where you've spent all this time trying to make people believe you're a global influencer. I think Harry looked like a fool walking around in there. That's just me. I've told you guys before that he's doing his own thing away from Meghan because they're trying to rebrand him. They're trying to make him more relatable. I don't think this is the way to do it. So just as a recap, he spent the whole week talking about the, digital platform, and he was mixing with, these lesser known royal dignitaries and all these people. And this is how he decides to end his week. I don't get it. And then they're putting out puff pieces. Oh, it was so fabulous. But this was right after Harry was a guest at the Clinton Global Initiative in New York. I mean, this just was not the way to end his trip to New York. I got to be honest. That's just my personal opinion. And these puff pieces saying it made him look good, I'm sorry, but I massively disagree. But this is part of the separation of Harry and Meghan and their professional work. Because let's face it, as a couple, Harry couldn't get anything done. It was all Meghan, and Harry became Meghan's spare. And I think he's had enough, which is why they're trying to separate things. They tried to do their stuff together. They tried to be a power company like Barack and Michelle Obama or like the Clooneys, but obviously that wasn't working out. So now Harry and Meghan are literally splitting their careers. We know that a lot of people had a very negative reaction to the Oprah show, and that was sort of the turning point for them, but they just kept on going. In the meantime, Harry is constantly being invited to forums to spout his sanctimonious drivel. And articles are coming out saying that Harry's transition from working royal to global advocate is now complete. Somebody please explain that to me, how he's a global advocate for anything because he has no training in anything and no real knowledge base. I don't understand why anybody would listen to anything that this man has to say. And when I call this man a hypocrite, let me tell you what I mean. Right here, it says that Harry joined for Travelist's 5th anniversary, and he's changing the way that travel is done, yada, yada, yada. Well, I wonder, did anybody ask him how he got to New York? Because I'm pretty sure that he got there by a private jet. In the meantime, a blind item came out that apparently Harry still smokes, and he had to go outside to smoke, and he was surrounded by other people, and he didn't feel his life was in danger. All right, let's move on to this next article saying that his cousins are in New York and it's overshadowing him while he's there. So in case you're unaware, Princess Beatrice was at an event in New York, as was her mother, Sarah. And they're saying that the role of Beatrice overshadowed Harry during his events as well. So, you know what? I doubt they met. I don't think the cousins have anything to do with Harry anymore. At least I hope they don't, because I think that's one of the reasons why people don't like them. Next thing we have for Harry, I'm so sorry to you people in New York because your taxes are paying for this. Harry decided while he was there that he was going to get a tattoo. He pulled up to a tattoo shop that apparently a lot of celebrities like. He was there for over an hour. Some photos were obtained by Page Six along with some video. And what it shows is Harry arriving in a huge blacked out SUV with his private security and New York City Police Department. And he goes in and he's there for over an hour getting a tattoo. This particular tattoo store is apparently really big with A-listers. They're saying that Chris Hemsworth, Robert Downey Jr., Scarlett Johansson, Jeremy Renner, Chris Evans, that these are all people who have previously gotten tattoos from tattoo artist Joshua Lord. So there you go. Harry goes in. He was flanked by members of his security team because, you know, God forbid something happened to him at an East Side tattoo parlor. But besides his regular security detail that was pictured, their article claims that there was a man there in a suit and that he worked for the NYPD. So you've got NYPD, private security, a motorcade. Yeah, this was all taxpayer funded, which I think is just terrible. Harry stayed for over an hour. And the big question that everybody wants to know is, what did he get tattooed on himself? And with all that, a big thank you to Kaya Lear on Twitter for her picture of what she thinks Harry got tattooed on himself. I don't know how you guys make pictures like that. You're really talented. I'm sure that would be great. This was done the same day, by the way, as the haunted thing. All right, next up, Harry's done it again. He has asked that the location of the Well Child Awards not be told to anybody for his safety. I'm telling you, oh my God, I think he would be perfectly fine. Nobody wants to hurt him as long as he's there by himself. And finally, they're saying that Harry has organized his final trip out of the country and Meghan Markle apparently is not going to go with him, which shocks me because she has tried to insert herself into Well Child. She has inserted herself into the Invictus Games, but they're claiming that this next trip to Africa is going to be just by Harry and not with Meghan. Maria Montessori pointed out that this charity has been caught embezzling funds. All right, you guys, I know that was a super long video, but there was a lot to get in there. Don't forget to go down and into the description box after you've hit the like button and the subscribe button and put your comments down and hit the link to video number 2, the palette cleanser. Let's go.